and welcome to Consciousness Rising Zimbabwe and beyond. My name is Tania Norris, and I'm joined today with my co-host, who is Antonella Bargonia. Is that correct, Antonella? Can you say
Bargione.
Bargione. And hi, Antonella. And our guest, our fabulous guest today is John Homewood from Cape Town. Hi, John.
Hello from Cape Town. Sunny Cape Town.
Oh, lovely. Well, it's very overcast, Zimbabwe, Harare here. Anyway, so before we start, I just want to explain to people about our channel, people who are not familiar with it. So we like to bring people, you know, there's so many people here in the Southern African region that are extremely committed and invested into bringing about peace, harmony, and balance to themselves, to the people, to communities. And the way that, and that can also be maybe not just physically, but mentally, spiritually, but they're extremely invested. So we like to shine the spotlight on those people and bring them forward, because you've got this vast pool of such learned, wise, talented beings, I would say, call them, you know, not rather than call them people, because they're so much more than that. So if anybody out there is interested in those topics along the lines of metaphysics, alternative healings, energy work, quantum physics, anything like that, then please check out all of our other interviews that we've done. We've done several, and have a look and see what you can find and learn. And a lot of those people are in Zimbabwe, but it doesn't matter because the information is universal. So please check that out. Now, John, I'm just going to read your quick bio, and then we have a fabulous chat here. So, John, you are an integrative conscious and human potential life coach, inspirational speaker, and founder of Mind Enhancement Systems, and Wisdom to Nourish and Journeys of Awakening.com. You have a passion for inspiring others, which you do with your radio and TV shows, as well as seminars, workshops, and retreats. And I can testify to that because I have been on some of these workshops with John, and they're extremely inspiring. So your early career was in the corporate world and was a climb from sales to senior management. And by the age of 30, was the director of a public listed company before leaving to start your own business. So John offers one-on-one coaching and consulting, and conducts consulting stress management seminars, effective speaking and presentation skill workshops, mindfulness in business and personal empowerment seminars, transformational, personal self-realization workshops and retreats, Journey to Freedom Online, which is a 13-week transformational course, and the Inner Space monthly online support and guidance platform. So John also produces a range of brainwave audio programs under the brand MindSync, which make use of the powerful theta brain state to help unlock creative problem solving, goal setting, weight loss or healing, and BECTA brain state for concentration and mental focus. So that's a really huge amount of things that you do there. I think you're more than qualified to talk to us about what we're going to talk about today. And our topic, really, what I think would be nice thing for us to discuss is sort of navigating our way through uncertainty, because things are extremely unstable and uncertain globally, and how to do that from the heart, which obviously needs a lot of explanation. So what do you think about that, John?
Well, thank you. Thank you for that long introduction there. You know, we love putting labels on people, but I don't like having any label put on me. And when people ask me what I do, I say, I don't know. I really don't know. But I think, you know, what you said right in the beginning, that we are people, persons. You mentioned the word person, and we're more than that. And the word person, it actually comes from, I think it comes from the Greek, is it? to blow air through. That's what it means, to blow air through. And that's what the person is. It's basically a mask through which we interact with the world around us, but it's not who we are. It's not who we are at all. We are the beingness behind the person. And the problem is, in uncertain times, is that the personality gets very disturbed. And in fact, in my experience, because I do one-on-one coaching, there's a huge amount of anxiety and fear and depression and anger floating around in the last year, and more so than ever. And that is because we are so tied up, or so mesmerized, hypnotized with the belief that we are the person. And the person is something that appears very briefly in time and space, and very vulnerable to changing circumstances. And I believe that until we are able to step back behind the mask and see who we really are, we're going to be caught up in the ups and downs of the changing uncertainty in the world around us. And so the work that I really do is to give people a deeper perspective as to who and what they really are. Because you're not what you do, and you're not what you have, and you're not what other people think of you. You're not even your experiences. You're the one that has the experiences. You're the one that has the body. You're the one that has the mind. You're the one that has the roles, that plays the roles. But what is the one that does all of that? And we are so caught up with that exterior veneer of who we think we are, that we don't take the time and trouble to ask the real deep question, which is, who am I? Who am I? And that's such a profound question, to step back into the real essence of who and what we really are. And until we are, until we value our true essence, we're going to continually live in a state of anxiety and fear. I mean, that's normal for the human condition. It's like having an air conditioner that is buzzing in the background. If you have a power outage and the electricity goes off, and there's suddenly this, oh, wow, it's so peaceful and so calm. And that's what fear and anxiety is doing in all of our lives. It's there the whole time. And what we do is we reach for generally addiction, which is like we can choose to smoke a cigarette, or to have a glass of Jack Daniels or whatever, to calm us down. And that numbs the hum of that air conditioner. It doesn't take it away, but it numbs our perception of it down. And these are coping mechanisms which we have. And the biggest addiction by far that mankind has is the addiction to think. And in fact, we have that, I think, therefore I am. That is just absolutely not true, because you are the space, the conscious awareness out of which the thinking arises. And it comes and it goes, but you are something deeper than that. And, you know, we're going through times of massive transformation at the moment. And I say the transformation that we're going through is a very short journey. It's a journey from the head back into the heart. It's a journey of self-realization. We're not our thoughts. We're not our story. We're not our possessions. We're not our relationships. We're not our education. We're something deeper than that. And this sort of transformation is given a word, and it's given a word in biblical terms, and the word is apocalypse. To live in apocalyptic times. Now, the word apocalypse doesn't mean, you know, the ending of the world. What it does mean is the coming down of the mask, coming down of the veil, for that which is hidden behind to be revealed. And those are the times we're going through at the moment. And yes, there is a lot of uncertainty in the world around us, and it's squeezing people. It's squeezing. And that is not bad, because if you take an orange, for example, and you squeeze an orange, Tanya, what do you get?
Orange juice.
Why don't you get pear juice?
Because it's orange.
Because there's no pear juice inside an orange. So when we get squeezed, what comes out is not being created in that moment. It is actually just a revealment of what was sitting on the inside. And when we go through very uncertain situations and circumstances, the fear and anxiety which is sitting inside people, the anger, resentment, guilt, whatever it is, comes to the surface. And that's not bad, because when it comes to the surface, it can be healed. And so this process of transformation is actually a journey of healing. That's what we're going through. The light of awareness is enough to dissolve the darkness of the unconscious patterns which have been running us for so long. And this is an opening for a higher level of awareness to come into our lives. And what does the word healing mean? So it might mean different things for different people. But for me, the word healing means to make whole again, to come back to wholeness, holiness, to come back to who we really are. And I believe that that is our life purpose. And there are many people on this planet at the moment who are very uncertain as to what their life purpose is. In fact, we could do a whole talk on life purpose. It's such an interesting topic. And I would suggest that we have a real inner life purpose, and then we have an exterior life purpose, a transitory life purpose. And the inner life purpose is to be whole, to become whole again, to realize our wholeness. And that's why every single soul comes to earth, in my understanding, is for healing, to come back to wholeness. And what is wholeness? But to align with our true beingness. Our beingness is whole, but the mind is fragmented in time and space. And I call that a matrix, the matrix of the mind, which is caught up in 60,000 thoughts a day. When I was bored one day, I counted them. About 60,000, I think I counted. No, I didn't, but some scientists did. And apparently between 40 and 70,000 thoughts are the average amount of thoughts that we think every day. And each one of those thoughts is a brick in the matrix. And we live in the matrix. The matrix is a bubble. We have two bubbles. We have a bubble of past and a bubble of future. And those bubbles are made up of our thoughts. And we live in those bubbles, those thought bubbles, as if they were real. And they're not. Your past is not here, and your future is not here. Neither of them exist in reality, but they exist in a perceptual reality that we have, and that's called the matrix. Now, this journey that I said is a journey, a very short distance from the head to the heart, because this whole matrix, which is encompassed in one word, and that word has 4 letters, and the 4 letters of the word is F for false, E for evidence, A for appearing, and R for real. So it's false evidence appearing real. Our story that we're telling ourselves in our head appears real, but that is fear. It's fear-based. The matrix is fear. It's an illusion. And the journey is to come out of the illusion into what I call the vertical plane. And that is where your heart is. Your heart is always present. Your heart doesn't go into the past or go into the future. That's the head's job. That's what the head does. And it's a wonderful tool. I mean, yes, it's great to remember something and to learn from the past and to anticipate the future, you know, plan a trip and book an air ticket or whatever. It's great to use that. But for 95% of the time, we don't need that. We don't need that tool. We can lay it down and we can live from here. And there's a huge difference between living from the head and living in the heart, a massive difference. And that is a difference between fear and love. And this journey that we're going through now is an opportunity to love even deeper than we've ever loved before. And we can talk a bit about what love is, because that's another misconstruction in the head.
Yes, I think, Antonella, I'll come over to you in a minute. That's one of the, just to recap here, I mean, you talk about that living from the heart. I've always felt like, but there's an integration. I mean, there's a reason we came to be human. Surely we can also enjoy our human experience.
That is our primary, you know, to become whole again, is to come back to what I call the vertical plane, presence. You can call it presence. But in the vertical plane, there are certain experiences. And the most important experience in the vertical plane is joy. Now, joy doesn't happen in our thoughts. That's a pseudo joy. Joy happens in the direct experiencing of life in this moment, because that's when your heart is open. So yes, your head, you can think of a memory and experience joy through that memory. Yeah, but that's not real. What is real is when you live here and you experience every moment as a joyful interaction. That's the heart, when you can directly experience it, because the only thing is real is when you can directly experience it. And joy is something to be experienced. Yes. So we can't truly enjoy our lives if we're living in our head, because we're disconnected from life. Only by by withdrawing our awareness from the matrix and coming into what I call the vertical plane. Let me just explain that briefly. So a good way of seeing is that there's a horizontal plane of experience. There's a horizontal plane. And that horizontal plane is a timeline from the moment we're born till the moment we die. There's a date on our tombstone, the date we're born and the date we die. If you can visualize that horizontal plane, and most people are on that horizontal line running to the future. It's a race. And in fact, it's a dash. You know, on your tombstone, you get the date you're born, the date you die, and the dash between. Well, that dash for most people is a race to get somewhere. I don't know where most people are rushing to, but they're trying to get to a future when everything's going to be perfect and wonderful and beautiful. And that's one way of living your life, and that's normal. It's the way we're trained from youth. Think of the future, you know, take a bit of pain now, but hopefully everything in the future is going to be good for you. If you take a bit of pain now, you can't live now. Postpone your life until you retire and get the gold watch, and then everything's going to be fine. And that is mad, because normal from that level of consciousness is mad. It's insane. If you go into a sanatorium and you meet a completely mad person, the reason they're mad is because there's no degree of presence in them. There's only the story in their head.
No, I
So
agree.
the degree of sanity to insanity is the degree of presence to story. It's great to have a story as long as you're here in the present moment, as long as you're the awareness that's having the thought and you're aware of that, that's fine. But when you're totally caught up in your story, that's insanity. Now, joy comes in the vertical plane when you directly interact with life, with people, with the wonderful world we live in. That's the joy. That is the joy. And that is our birthright. That is what I believe that's what we're destined to experience on a moment-to-moment basis. And the only thing that blocks joy from our awareness is this troublesome, worrisome thinking mind. And we can experience joy in any set of circumstances. And I know the mind doesn't want you to even hear that, because no, circumstances must line up the way I need them to line up for me to have joy. And that is not true. And I remember a few years ago when my late partner passed away, she had cancer. And as she left her body, in that moment, yes, there was tremendous grief, but in that moment, there was joy underlying the thought pattern of the mind. Even in that set of difficult circumstances, I could feel the joy. It's here all the time. The same way that silence, stillness underlies all sound. It's always here. And so joy is our birthright.
Okay,
it's in fact the same as being.
Can I just interject there and just say something about joy? Because, you know, we use that word joy. And I know that I think there are a lot of distortions just in that, because I've come across so many people, unless they're bouncing off the walls and having a wonderful time, they think there's something wrong with them. And from my understanding of joy is no, that's like an addiction. If that's what you're looking for, then you're addicted to some kind of hormone where you've got to be thrilled and you know, that's an addiction. I think joy is more about being just a contentment, a calm acceptance, that kind of, it's a calm feeling. Joy is not bouncing off the walls with happiness. I think, or like, that's my opinion. I don't know what Antonella or John, what do you think about that?
I would use the word contentment. It's knowing that in this present moment, I'm connected, I'm aligned. So there's this concept of above, so below. And these two forces come together and they align. And so there is love coming, alignment coming, and in my heart, then they become contentment. It's like I'm enough. It's enough. It's just perfect. Like what we were just talking before, those 2 minutes before we started recording. It's just perfect as it is, even in the imperfection. And yeah, it's so. The quality of joy, which, by the way, is the motion of the heart in the Chinese medicine, it's how do you say in English? Suave. There's a suavity to it. It's very, yeah, for me. Of course, it can be no, but that's different. It's just prorompent. I mean, it's just more. It's just joy itself. It's just, yeah, the beauty. There's also beauty in joy. Lots of it for me.
John?
Yes, that's very interesting because beauty is the doorway into the vertical plane, what I call the depth of life, into the present moment. Beauty is the doorway into that. And beauty is what opens the heart up. The recognition of beauty is what opens the heart. And when the heart is open, the experience of that is joy, is joyful. So very much beauty is an important, a very important tool, a perceptual tool, because it's a choice. And choosing beauty, to see beauty, to perceive beauty, opens the heart. And in that, everything that's in the vertical plane, and there are, you know, although on the horizontal plane of time and mind and fear, we have lots of things. Lots who said 10,000 things. It's lots of different labels, lots of separate things. In the vertical plane, although we have different labels to describe what they are, they're all aspects of exactly the same. So joy, ease, peace, the I am, I call it, all aspects of one, and I'm going to say one no-thingness. It's a no-thingness. It's a feeling. Love isn't a thing. It's not something that can be given or received. It's something you open yourself up to. Joy is something you open yourself up to. Peace is something you open yourself up to. They're not things. They are experiences, very different to time. In time, it's object reality. In fact, the mind is all about objects. In the vertical plane, it's all about experience. It's all about experience.
That's right. So, if we again, we get back to that whole concept of, as you had said previously, that love, you know, everyone wants to experience love, but what is it? Because it's such an overused word. I spent years trying to figure out what is love. You know, it's like meaningless. It's meaningless. You just got to love. And every time any metaphysical talk, that's all they talk about. You just got to love, and it's all from the heart. And that means to me absolutely nothing, you know.
Correct.
So I think, you know, maybe let's just focus a bit. Maybe you can explain more, as you were saying, that to have those feelings, because it's a feeling of, and how do you access that? John.
Yeah. So may I just share? So, you know, if I'm audience and I say, well, who understands love, you know, and no hands go up generally because no one understands love. You can't understand anything in the vertical plane. The vertical plane is not about mind. It's about heart. And only things that can be understood go into the head. You know, only, in other words, the head is the basket for understanding. The heart is for experiencing. So in English, you know, we have the word love, which is English is a very technical language, and it likes to define things. And love is, in fact, something that cannot be defined. It can't be put into a label. It can't be put into, I know my mother, when I was a child, she said something, you can't put the whole ocean into a thimble. So let's say the love is the ocean and the thimble is our head. It doesn't fit inside that, but the heart works completely different. It works at what's called non-local. In other words, it's everywhere all at once. But I have 3 words that can help us or point us in the direction of what we're speaking about. Because when we say love, you know, I love that ice cream, or I love that dress in the shop window, or whatever it is, you know, that's a word of attachment. And I want, generally that word means I want to have, I want to own, I want to possess, I want to consume. That's not the word that we yearn for. We yearn for something deeper than possession. We don't want to be possessed. We want something that is a direct connection with the all that is. So there are 3 words that I use, and we can use a few more to point us towards this real heart-centered experience. And the first word is allow. 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 If you just think of when someone truly loves you, they allow you to be who you are. They don't want to manipulate you or change you or force you to do something. It's an allowingness. So that's the first word. The second word is acceptance. Similar, but slightly different. We accept the other. We accept the world as it is. We accept the flower as it is, the tree as it is, the pet as it is. That's acceptance. And the third word is appreciation. Appreciation. So those three words, accept, allow, and appreciate. And we can also add the word awareness in there, because love and awareness go hand in hand. So when you sit down and you meet someone you love, and you're sitting across a candlelit dinner table, and you're in love, and you're gazing into each other's eyes, where is the judgmental mind in that moment? It's gone. It's not there. There is a state of allowing in that moment. You allow whatever the person is saying to be said, and you appreciate this moment fully. You accept this moment. Your heart is open. But after 20 years of marriage, you sit across that same table with a candle, and they start to speak. No, the mind jumps in there. No, I've heard this before. Oh, you said this, and this is not true. And there's a whole judgment going on. There's no love in that moment. The love is gone because there's too much mind. There's too much mind, and there's too much time. So what kills love is always too much time. And time is a function of mind. Mind and time are one and the same. You can't have time without mind, and you can't have mind without time. But the heart is timeless. It's present. And so when we enter the vertical plane, this place of presence, that when we can experience the direct connection of the timeless, which is acceptance, which is appreciation. And there is a love and presence are aspects of the same level of consciousness. What kills love is too much time. What opens us up to love is more presence. So if there's a relationship that you're in, something that's dysfunctional, it doesn't matter whether it's an intimate relationship or a relationship with a friend or a work colleague, it's exactly the same. If there is a wall between you, if there is distance, if there's too much time, too much judgment, too much preference, you can dissolve that wall by being absolutely present with them next time you meet them. And one aspect of presence is listening. Listening. You see, listening is a passive, and we can almost say it's not, but we can almost say that the heart is more linked to the feminine, where the mind is more masculine. It's not actually like that, but let's just use as a tool. So the mind is a doingness, it's an outgoingness, which is the expression of male, of masculinity. The feminine is a coming back, a holding, a nurturing. And so if we have a particular problem in a relationship where there's a breakdown in the relationship and there's a lack of love as you receive it in that moment, come back to the feminine, which is the holding, which is the allowing, which is the listening. And I absolutely guarantee you that the power of listening is profound in healing relationships that have gone wrong.
But John, what happens if you have to listen to a story, as you said earlier, that you know you've heard 700 times?
And so let's just say that the you that used to listen was the you that was embedded in the story. And what I'm suggesting now, when we come into the heart and we listen with the heart, we listen with the innocence of a child, with no story. There's no memory there. There's no anticipation of what the next word is going to be. Now, something magical happens when you enter that heart space, not the head. It's the head space that's heard it all before.
Yeah.
When you go into your heart space and you allow, you go into the stillness, which listens, there's something that happens. So we have in presence, which is what you're entering, a male and a female as well. When we enter presence, we enter the female aspect of presence, which is the allowing, the holding. That's our only job, is to go into that receptive state. But while we're in that receptive state, there is paradoxically a masculine energy that happens in that interaction. And that masculine energy, which we don't do, it happens. And that is called grace. Grace is what happens when we enter that stillness, that space of holding. And that grace goes out and transforms. And it's happened many, many times in my life. It's not something I believe in, it's something I know. When we are prepared to hold the space of emptiness for the other person, grace comes through that space. and transforms that form from fear, which is generally what drives most people, into itself, which is love. So that's a very practical tool to open the heart, to be more the listener, which, you know, I'm doing the talking. But in fact, the most powerful part of this interaction were if I were to be quiet and just still and just hold presence. That's where the magic of transformation takes place. When Albert Einstein said there's two ways to live your life. One is if nothing's a miracle, in other words, just a random happenstance. And the other one, he said, is if everything's a miracle. He said, I choose to live my life this way, as if everything's a miracle. But what is a miracle? It's when there's no doing this and situations just unfold in miraculous ways. And that is possible, but we have to enter the state of beingness, which is our true essence, beingness. And the more we're in beingness, the more receptive we come, the more we are open for true listening to take place. It's a beautiful space. And that is when the heart opens. And when the heart is open, there's healing that takes place, both for you and for those that you're interacting with.
Antonella, you have anything?
And yet journey is a conscious choice that we have to take.
It is.
Because if I'm stuck in fear and I'm just there, and I really have to make that conscious choice. Okay, I know this state. Let me try something different. Let me try something different. And then yes, you can let's maybe suggest that people can play, use it the occasion as play. Let's play to open and listen to what you're saying with fresh eyes. Like if I'm listening for the first time, and see what happens without attachment. And that, yes, because it's I mean, this journey from this 16 inches from the mind to the heart is the most difficult journey in our lifetime. I mean, everybody says that. Shamans, I mean, it's been going on forever, and it's so true. It's so true. It's so true.
It's the shortest distance, you know, to regain a consciousness that we never left. We are this. This is who we are. This is who we're not. And we've made what isn't more real than what is. And it's our construct. This is our creation, and this is the divine's creation. And the journey home is back into. So if you take a cork, for example, and you hold it underwater, it takes efforting to hold it there. If you let the cork go, it goes back to its natural buoyancy. And if we're prepared to let go of our story, let go of our attachments, which is the word you used just now, if we let go of our attachments, our natural buoyancy is here. This is our natural state. It takes effort to keep the mind going. And if we're prepared to surrender, we automatically go back into the stillness.
Right.
And it's so powerful. I mean, I was playing myself while you were talking. I said, okay, let me be there. Let me be in my heart. Let me be in love. And I've got this gift. I would say it's a gift for me. That when that happens, it's like I start to purr internally.
Yes. Yes.
It's like there is this vibration. Which is so strong.
It's very interesting. Purring is at 10 cycles a second. And when cats purr, they purr for two reasons: when they are happy and when they're in pain. And 10 cycles a second is a profound frequency for healing. It has cellular healing and bone healing, and it balances the endocrine system in the body. So if you're ill and you have a cat on you that's purring, that is healing. That is healing. So I love that. I love to purr. Yes, to purr internally. That's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
I didn't know that, but it's since I was a kid. And so some friend would come to me and say, please purr on me, please purr. So,
well, I must just add to that. So I have got a few cats. I'm not going to say how many. And it's absolutely true. Sometimes if I don't know that I'm not well, but one of those cats will want to come and sit on top of me. And then when that happens, I think, okay, well, maybe I'm coming down, or I need this, because I don't know what's wrong with me, but the cat knows what's wrong. So I always just allow it, embrace it. You know, back in the days when I used to do my Reiki and all of those types of healings, I had the one cat who would go crazy to get in that room. And he would come and sit next to or on the client if they liked it, if they allowed it. So yeah, I'm a big believer in cat energy. And you know, and one thing Margie Watson taught us in one of our workshops is that the geopathic stress that comes out from the earth, you get a lot of negative energy spots, and you also get positive energy spots. A dog will always run away from the negative energy, but a cat will always go straight to the negative energy, and it just transforms it with its purring and yeah.
Yeah.
So those are my cat stories. Anyway, back to our story here. So okay, John, some tips. You know, so living in awareness, being present, being accepting, appreciation. So these are the things. How do we start? How do we start? I know it's an intention and it's an awareness. Give us some tips.
Well, first of all, we have to value what we're speaking about here, because we live our lives according to a hierarchy of values. And whatever we value, we give energy to, we give attention to, we spend time on, we even spend money on, whatever's highest on our list of values. And for most people, they value their story more than peace, more than love, more than joy. And then you will not give any attention to what we're speaking about. So until one has suffered enough, you won't be prepared to say there's got to be a better way. You won't be prepared to surrender. But once you reach that point of this is too much, there has to be a better way. Once you reach that point, you're then open to the transformation. But you have to reach that point first. It can't be forced on you. No one can tell you to do this. So first of all, you have to be prepared to start valuing peace, ease, joy, love, life more than the story you've been telling yourself. That's the first thing. We, I believe, as a species, are at a very pivotal point in our evolution. And at the moment, we're standing at a fork in the road. And the one road promises us safety, promises us security, promises us everything. And above that road is the word fear. Promises us absolutely everything and delivers nothing. The other road has the word love, and love promises you absolutely nothing, but delivers you everything. So, for example, we have in our society at the moment this perception of separation is good. Wear a mask, distance yourself, it's close yourself down. That is fear. That's fear-based. The media is spreading that virus, and it's a virus of fear, separation. On the other hand, we have the path which doesn't promise us anything. It doesn't promise us safety. It promises us absolutely nothing. But we have a fundamental choice to make right now. And what Antonella was saying is so true. We have to choose which path we want to go down. If we choose the path of love, then there are certain very practical steps that we can start to take. And here are some of them. First of all, has there ever been anything that's ever happened to you in life that you did not cope with at the time? And I'm going to say that no, everything that's ever happened to you, when it happened to you, somehow you got through it. Somehow you got through it. And that law is always there. So anything that's ever going to happen to you in the future, you are also going to cope with. In fact, even when you die, you're going to do that successfully. You're not going to miss that one. So there's nothing in the future that when you get there, you will not be able to deal with. So this leads me to the word trust. Not trusting that your egoic needs are going to be met, that your egoic wants are going to be met, that your egoic desires are going to be met, but trusting that life in each and every moment, in the present moment, is always giving you exactly what you need in the present moment. Sometimes it's a lesson, sometimes it's a challenge, but that's what you need in that moment. So the first step to walk down the The path of love is to trust, not trust in your egoic idea of what should be, not trusting in that, but trusting that life, which is presence, is always meeting your absolute needs, always. That's the first step.
Mm-hmm.
Then from that, moment to moment to moment, we start to make what is more real to us, more important than that story we're telling ourselves about this moment. It's a choice. In this moment, I can continue believing what my thoughts are saying, my judgmental mind, my preferential mind is saying, or I can choose to be the space that allows this moment to unfold in. That's a fundamental choice. It's a choice that you can only make if you are conscious. Because if you are not here, you can't make that choice. And so trusting life in this moment is the first step to becoming conscious enough to make the choice to choose to hold the situation in the space of awareness, believing in miracles, believing that this situation is perfect, and that if I hold this space, it is going to unfold perfectly for all concerned. Now, there are certain very practical tools we can use to do that. So the only problem we've got is not the mother-in-law, not the government, not the weather. It's our thoughts about the mother-in-law, our thoughts about the weather, it's our thoughts about the government. So to realize that the real problem lies here, not out there. And so if we want to change this, we change our whole experience. And the most powerful tool that I've found to changing this is affirmation, the power of affirmations. And the way to start an affirmation is not that I hope this is going to work out the way I want it to work out. No, that's not an affirmation. An affirmation should always start with the confirmation of presence. And the most powerful way we can confirm presence is I am. The I am is presence. It's another word for the vertical plane. So start an affirmation with the I am. And then on the end of that, put on that which you would like to experience directly. So, for example, I am guided and protected in each and every moment. That's a beautiful tool. Now, your mind was at 60,000 thoughts a day. If you say that once a day as a percentage of 60,000, it's absolutely nothing. It's not going to make any transformation in your neurology. It's not going to change a single neural net in your mind. But if you say that 1,000 times a day, 500 in the morning, 500 in the afternoon, I'm guided and protected every single step of my journey. It starts to make a perceptual shift. Now, I, back 21 years ago, decided to change my life. I had 4 businesses that were all making losses. I was in a marriage that was not very nurturing. And I decided to change my mind. And I put up on my computer screen a 3D text. In those days, you had a screensaver, which you could type in and it came up as a scrolling text. If you're old enough to remember that. And I put up, life is great. It's an affirmation, life is great. My life wasn't great. I didn't experience it. But gradually, through repeating that affirmation, I started to experience life as great. So the first part of an affirmation is always connection with the isness of life. Life is great, or I am guided and protected. Start working with affirmations. And if you want some help with that, if you just look at Louisa Hay, she absolutely master of affirmations, of good affirmations. So if you watch some of her lectures, some of her talks, and I think a book that every single home should have is You Can Heal Your Life. What a wonderful, wonderful book. And in that book, there's a whole list of affirmations that you can start working with. Another affirmation that I work with is, despite my current perception, this moment is perfect. Despite my current perception, this moment is perfect. But the most powerful affirmation that I've ever come across is this one. My point of power is in the present moment. My point of power is in the present moment. So whenever you get disturbed, whenever you're feeling fearful, whenever you're feeling anxious, whenever you're feeling grief or anger or resentment, just come into the quietness and say, my point of power is in the present moment. And in that moment, you are empowered with consciousness to make new choices. You become the space into which grace can flow to create miracles on the outside.
Well, that's fabulous advice. And Janella, do you have anything to add on to tips for people?
Well, I use a similar one. You say, despite my current perception, I use up until now. And ... which is a different aspect. Yes, there was before trust. Trust is something that you learn. Yeah, you learn to trust.
Yeah.
But before that, you need to make a space. So whenever you catch yourself on your wheel, just stop and breathe.
Yes, the power of the pause.
Yes, the power of the pause is so important, because
Very, very
it's
powerful.
what can. Okay.
Yeah.
Am I scared? Am I fearful? What is it? Is it to stress? I can give you an example. Yes. What happened to me yesterday? I had a huge issue with my internet company, and I generally am a person who suppressed anger, and yesterday the internet company gave me the gift to make me furious, but really furious. It was huge. And then I decided, this is why we say it was good to do it today. Then I decided, okay, you know what? You have this gift in your hand. Go and paint your fury.
Yes.
Go and paint it. Yes. And by the time I finished, there was so much sweetness, so much power. I understood that fury was to protect. That when there's so much fury, so I got so many information and gifts from the experience. In another moment, I would have, if I wouldn't be present to stop, then in another moment I would have gone maybe in the kitchen eating or other things, going to those addictions you were talking before, because we are all so vulnerable at the moment. And so it's really the power of pause. So important. Yeah.
Because in the pause, we become conscious, and in that consciousness, we can choose. So the exercise, which is very good also to help with that pause, is the breathing. And that's a very, very powerful exercise to open the heart, is to become conscious of the breath. And it only takes one conscious breath to come back to the heart. And I'm just going to suggest this little exercise here. So when we breathe, there's the doing and the releasing. There's the in-breath and the surrendering out-breath. Now, what we do as human beings, well, I'm going to say as human doings, we tend to focus on the doing. So it's on the in-breath. You know, when we get stressed, we breathe in. So I'm going to suggest that we start making the out-breath more important to us than the in-breath. And we make the out-breath, here's the exercise, twice as long as the in-breath. So if we breathe in to the count of 4, we breathe out to the count of 8. And immediately you become more centered, more peaceful, and your heart opens. So breathing, and you know, we all want bliss. And in the East, they talk about nirvana. And if you ask someone from the East what nirvana means, they say, well, it means bliss. Well, it actually, nirvana, the word means to blow out, to breathe out. And that means that when we release, when we surrender, we enter that realm of bliss. So the out-breath is a reminder of that, to let go, because you don't have to worry about your breathing. You know, life will breathe you for your whole life. It does it. The first breath you take wasn't a conscious effort. It happened for you, and you'll go through your whole life, and the life will breathe you. You don't have to worry about that. So let's just focus on the out-breath. Make that very, very important to us, the out-breath. So whenever we get stressed, whenever we get in our head, whenever we get any of those emotions that make us unconscious, for example, like rage, you know, at the internet service provider, we become unconscious in that moment. Let me come back. Let me try one breath, just one breath. maybe 3, but 1 is a good starting place. And let's make the out breath twice as important to us as the in breath. And we do that in a surrendered state. And that really does shift us from the head back into reality, back into the heart.
Yeah.
And that power, that pause, very, very powerful.
I know. I think people really need to experience these things. Try them out for yourself. Try them out for yourself. And then you get your own evidence instead of listening to other people talking about it. I just wanted to add there, which you were talking about, for me, what I found very useful as well is that changing the story. You know, that's a very important thing. And another way we do that is through our imagination, which people feel is like the mind thing. It's actually not, because when your mind is calm, it's almost like a way that spirit and source can speak to you through your imagination. So using creative visualizations as with the affirmations. And I find that that's a very useful way to create an environment of more freedom and creativity, or whatever it is that you're looking for. So it's that change of story, use your imagination. And Albert Einstein said that as well. Imagination is much more useful than knowledge. You know, and that was really how he accessed all of his inspirations and the such like. So, and another thing that I came across that I have been trying lately, and I think it's working, is actually tapping, you know, over here, this is where all of our hormones are made, thymus gland. If we just tap on that, and just keep tapping on that, that is can release a lot of hormones, love chemicals, oxytocin, you know, and those sort of calming chemicals for you. So, you know, just the things that we need to do in the moment to change that story. You know, little things, affirmation, a visualization, just tap here, breathe, as you were saying. So those are all useful things. John, Antonella, we're going to have to wrap it up. We've been going here for quite a while. So I just want to say thank you.
May I just share one last tool, which has been very, very helpful to many thousands of people as far as the heart goes. So if you imagine that we have this timeline of past and future, and all the problems we ever have are on that timeline. Now, we have discussed coming into the vertical plane which aligns us with life, with presence, with love, and with joy, with peace, with ease. They all happen here. So now here's the tool. Whenever you're not feeling that, so your internet provider has just like messed up, all right, now you are angry. Now, where are you? Basically, they should have done that. So maybe in the past, or maybe you're worried about the future. So you just recognize that your mind has either gone into this bubble or this bubble, but it's not present. So what you do is you visualize, you use the power of visualization. It's a very powerful tool to see that you've got a lovely steering wheel in front of you. And you put your hands on that steering wheel. First of all, you notice which bubble it's pointing into. Is it caught up with thoughts of the previous moment? Or is it caught up with thoughts of anticipation of what's going to happen? You notice that. You put your hands on that steering wheel and you tilt it in your imagination back to centeredness. And you find that as you do that, as you come back to centeredness, you'll start to feel an energy come through you. It's the energy of grace, of presence that comes through you. And it clears the mind, it clears the story. So say, for example, you're on the way to a meeting and you're late and you knew you should have got up earlier because you knew there was going to be traffic and you're busy criticizing yourself about what happened in the past. You put your hands on the steering wheel, you tilt it back to centeredness. You arrive at the meeting at exactly the right time. Exactly the right time. Whereas if you arrived there in a rage and you're angry with yourself, you would have been met by a mirror of that. Yes, you would have been late. They would have been angry. But when the world, according to Carl Jung, is a mirror. So as we change our internal environment, so we change our external environment. And so it's the same way as if you're worried about the future, what's going to happen. You know, they're doing this lockdown, the whole businesses are collapsing. Put your hands on the steering wheel, tilt it back to centeredness. Presence comes in. Presence alters the ultimate outcome because the future is not predetermined. We are creating it moment to moment with the field of the heart. If the heart is shut down, then fear is going to be the predominant experience in the future. If the heart is open, then peace and love and connection is going to be our experience in the future. So that steering wheel exercise is very, very powerful, and use it right throughout the day.
For sure, I'm going to be trying that. Anyway, we have to wrap this up now. So all I can say to you, John, you are available. People can get hold of you. I'll put all your links in our description below. You also have a YouTube channel, and you're on Facebook, and the whole thing will be there if people want to get hold of you. And also to anybody, please share this video, because you don't know who needs to hear this information. And it's very useful, you know, people just to get this information if they need it, even if it's not your thing. So we'd appreciate that very much. And Antonella, is there anything that you'd like to add before we?
Yes.
Yeah.
I would like to invite people to ask questions. Yes. Maybe on the Facebook book or even on the YouTube channel, because it's always nice to have the conversation going, and of course share the conversation if you liked it. And also, am I right that you and your partner every Sunday you hold a satsang online? So
yes, that's right. Just every Sunday evening on my Facebook Live we have a satsang. Yes. Yes.
So it's a free opportunity for people to get to know you and to benefit from it.
7 o'clock. So 7 o'clock South African and Zimbabwean time. That's UCT +2. 7 o'clock every Sunday. We're there, and it's meditation, connecting, and some wisdom sharing.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, John, for being on board, for coming with us to Consciousness Rising. Thank you to Tania for hosting this episode. And
thank you, Tania. Yeah, and just to say that love is your sense of connection. And thank you, Tania, for putting this platform out there of like-minded people connecting, and also on that wonderful WhatsApp group, because love is connecting. Fear is disconnecting, but love is connecting. And I think we need more connection in the world that we are moving through at the moment. So thank you, and bless you for the work that you do.
Pleasure. Thank you very much. See you soon. Bye. Bye, Antonella.
Bye. 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 Bye.